There's a question I used to ask people on first dates or at work just to see what came out and where their minds were at. And it was this: if you had any superpower, if you could choose a superpower, what would it be? And a lot of people said invisibility or super strength, the ability to fly, that type of thing. And I actually had two answers. And I meant both of them, and I still do. The first one is teleportation, but not just teleportation. The ability to do that with someone else and luggage, right? Because I didn't want to arrive in Greece spiritually refreshed and my luggage was still stuck in Cleveland, or FedExing it to myself. But my second answer was always the real one. I wanted to heal people, not just physically, because physical pain, physical stuff can be healed. It can be worked around. Ask me how I know. But it is a different kind of handicap than emotional pain. I wanted to heal someone's trauma for them. Reach into the place where a person carries that deep inside them, that continuous low-grade pain, that grief, the replaying of it, the looping of it, the way the past still holds a key to their physical building, and just relieve it. Just take that pain away. And for a long time, I generally wish that was possible. I've been with people and I've seen people and I've worked with people that had so much pain and so much grief and so much regret. And they were going through so many things. And a lot of it was past childhood trauma. And those are things that sadly people carry with them for way too long. And it's such a heavy burden. It was never intended to be that heavy, but we create it. Why? Because we don't know how to let it go. We don't know how to set it down. So I really wanted to take that away from people. Why? Because I believed it would make this a better place to live. Because if thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, whatever it may be, can release that pain and that suffering and that trauma, they'll be freer. They'll be freer in their mind, they'll be freer in their body, their nervous system will be relaxed. They can actually live and enjoy life again. And if people are happy and having a good time, that energy is transferable to other people around them. And the reverse is also true. Obviously, a lot of people have noticed this. If someone's angry and upset at work, they want as many people to be as angry and upset as they are. Misery loves company. And that's probably an easier emotional thing to pass around, is negativity versus positivity. So the reverse was the same. So if people are happier, then everyone should be happier, right? So that was the goal, that was the wish. But I realize now that no one can do that for another person. No matter how much you love them, no matter how much seeing them in pain makes you in pain, and some of us are even delusional enough to say, I wish I could take your pain. If that's a deal with the devil, that I have to make that to make you whole, to make you feel better, I will take on your pain because I feel like I could handle it, that type of thing. But that's not available to us either. No matter how hard it is to watch them carry it, we can't take that from them. The best we can do is console them and comfort them, tap them on the shoulder, they're there, everything will be all right, don't worry about it, all that kind of trope stuff that doesn't sink in, that doesn't really help. It's like, okay, it's it's like losing your job and then someone sends you a card, oh, sorry to hear about you losing your job. That really doesn't make you feel better. That really doesn't make the painful situation go away. But you can't reach into someone else's inner person, their inner world, and do their healing for them. That is a specific personal thing that everyone has to learn how to do on their own. But strangely, accepting that didn't make me feel powerless. It didn't make me go back to, oh, this is a cruel world and everything sucks. It actually made me feel a little bit more clear and focused. Well, instead of focusing on everyone else's pain and suffering, why don't you focus on your own? And that was kind of a mirror for me, because I denied for a long time, that I was carrying this around. I'm happy, I'm funny, I just try and move along and show things don't bother me. And then I would keep it in. I don't know if I was trained that way or if it's just something that I decided to do. Just keep it in until it needs a release. It's going to get released. Realizing that made me look at myself and say, okay, what do I really have trauma-wise that was keeping me back? And I really had no childhood trauma, a little bit or whatever, which I did have to realize that and bring that out. But for the longest time, I was definitely a forget type person. You know, I've had um, bad things happen to me or whatever, and then years later, after I had forgiven and forgotten and moved on, and realized, holy shit, why, why did you forget that? You know, and part of it was probably my coping mechanism to try and heal myself by forgetting. But it's like, whew, why would you forgive that person and then still stay with them or still trust them, still give loyalty to that person after the betrayal or whatever it may be, or stole something that was personable to you and they were just kind of blasé, you know, whatever, or they denied it when, you know, you knew something happened. So, you know, those are some things that I had to work through. But not healing people for them, helping them find the place in themselves where healing can begin. That's the actual work, and that's a different thing. And I'll say that again in case I talk too fast. I realize that I can't heal people for them, but maybe helping them find a place in themselves, enough calmness and steadiness and awareness in themselves where they can begin their own healing journey and their own healing path. So that's where, you know, part of this work really began, is with myself. And a lot of people aren't hurting necessarily because of what happened to them. They're hurting because of the attachment to what happened, right? The charge of the memory, the loop that their mind keeps playing in it, the way the body will and nervous system will still respond to those certain situations, those certain thoughts, to certain people who come into the room. Your body and your nervous system remembers that trauma and can activate it. And that's why people get nervous or hearts race, etc. In certain situations. They're being triggered by that trauma, by something in the present. Could be one thought, even one smell, one song on the radio, just one random Tuesday driving by, you know, your old favorite restaurant or whatever it may be, or maybe the other person's birthday or something like that, that triggers these memories, that triggers this trauma, that brings you back into that place that you're desperately trying to relieve yourself of, even if you don't realize that you need to. But suddenly the whole system is back online from all that stuff, you know. Your nervous system just kicks into high gear. You have that trauma again. You have that grief. You know, so that is the work, is trying to alleviate that, to trying to get your nervous system and your body not to attach to those things in the way they had before. Because when that happens, people tend to make it mean something about themselves, right? These emotions come up out of nowhere or whatever. You were having a decent day and it just threw you right off, threw you right back into the past trauma. You know, you start feeling, I'm not healed. I'm doing this wrong. Why is this still here? I'm tired of crying about it. I'm tired of yelling about it. I'm tired of fighting myself about it. Why can't I just move on, right? And sometimes there's a spiritual layer on top of it too, with law of attraction or manifestation. It's like, I must be doing this incorrectly. I must have too much resistance from this, right? I'm doing something wrong. So therefore, you're almost blaming yourself, not for the trauma event itself, but for you not being able to cope with it, to get over it, so to speak, or whatever. But that is a very difficult thing. Because most of the time what's happening is simpler than that. It's your system is attached. Your nervous system, your body, your mind is attached to a memory. That memory still holds the same charge as it did during the event. And that is kind of a revelation that I've learned too. Your mind and your nervous system doesn't recognize time as we perceive it, you know, past, present, and future. To your body and to your nervous system, everything is now. You know, it doesn't go into the past, whatever. Your mind pushes it into the past with these memories and with these trauma things specifically. And your nervous system will relive that thing as if it is happening again, exactly the way it did. Or sometimes we make it worse, right? Sometimes our memories take that event and amplify it. Because now we're layering our emotions and our regrets and maybe even other traumatic events onto that one and compounding it. You're making it even worse than it may had already been to begin with. So the body still reads that situation as unfinished. Your nervous system has not gotten closure for it, so therefore it kicks in again, thinking it is real, thinking it is happening now, thinking it's happening again, and it's trying to protect you. You know, that's the fight or flight or the freeze aspect of our sympathetic nervous system. So that's reactivated. And the person doesn't yet have a reliable way to come back to themselves without getting fully pulled into that mental loop, fully pulled back into the trauma. And that's where this work really is. And that's why I ended up developing the floor ladder, which I invite you to check out Lessons from the Floor, where I explain that in great detail. And these are actual steps that I took in my own life. These are stuff I figured out after the fact, after I had made progress in my own healing. These are things that I figured out, that steps that people could do, anyone could do at any time of day when they have wobbles, as I call them, that throws them out of the present into the past or spiraling into the future with anxiety, that brings you back, brings your nervous system back, calms it down just enough for you to move clearly without so much static and noise. So that's really where the work begins, is in the noticing and the awareness of it. So I do have a system in place now for my own self, and I believe it will help others that are stuck like I was. So the work isn't pretending that the traumatic events didn't happen. It's not bypassing it. It's not forcing forgiveness before your body or your nervous system is ready for that. It's not just mental work. It's not just get over it. It's not just quit thinking about it. It's not that, oh, you know, and then berate yourself. Oh, you're so weak. Why are you still dealing with this stuff? You should be over it by now. God damn, it's been 15 years and you're still bitching about the woman who divorced you, right? You know, and why? Because we don't know how to deal with it. We don't realize that that was a traumatic event. So that's, you know, what the work is about. But this work is also not me saying, you know, it's not guru theater. You know, it's not a promise that if you do the right things in the right ritual order, with the right intention, this pain will stop visiting you. It's not that simple either. But the work says the pain will still visit you, but you can learn to stop giving your entire life to that pain. And I didn't start this work, I didn't start this channel, I didn't start Phoenix Oracle, I didn't write Lessons from the Floor to sell something. Not at all. I am not a salesperson, and I will never ask you to like or subscribe, because that's not what this is about. I'm using this as a vehicle to help you learn about yourself and hopefully relieve some of your own past pain and even present pain and trauma, you know, through this work that I'm doing. I started because this work started, I did this on myself. This was all self-discovery. This was all me doing this work on myself. And it's basically just through a lot of introspection. I broke my ankle. That's part of, you know, what threw me into this work, not able to go to work. And I had all these thoughts, all these ideas, all these steps that had worked so far, and I explored them deeper. I explored them more fully. I just worked on my awareness and stuff, and that's how I came to these steps. So I was trying to understand why memories held charge, why some loops in particular kept running in my mind and in my system, why some pains stayed louder and more persistent than they deserved to be, long after the events had been over. And the more I found, the more interested I became in learning about myself. You know, I was making progress. I was letting things not go. As I said, I integrated them. I started learning that these are lessons I need to learn, and don't carry the pain forward, carry the lesson forward without the pain. And you know, you want to keep, you know, you can still have emotions. You can still be emotional about these events and stuff when you think about them, but you can get to the point where the emotions aren't overriding everything else. You're not just stuck in a ball of emotions and bawling your eyes out. It's almost like if you're ever in the ocean and not close to the shore where there's breaking waves, but just the big fat ones, that just come rolling in, like a big ship. And that's what you have to learn to do with your emotions. When you are aware that you're having emotion, and I probably cry every day, I'll be honest about it, from certain things, but now I don't get stuck in that. I don't get pulled into the event, the past event. I just let it kind of pass through me like that big wave. You don't resist the wave, right? When it's a big, huge wave, you try to swim toward it, swim up over it or whatever. You just let it go through you and let it pass, take it in, enjoy it, for lack of a better term. Say yes, acknowledge it, acknowledge that you're having a bad feeling, that you're sad, that you're lonely. And it's not just for negative emotions, but that's what this work is. You don't have to teach someone how to be happy. You don't have to teach someone to have, good thoughts and to enjoy those good thoughts. So anyway, let it pass through you as a wave, and then go back to your baseline, go back to your present, go back to your daily life. And that has been really helpful for me as a framing of it. You can feel those emotions, absolutely. You have to. You're human. You're never gonna not feel stuff. But you can take the charge away from it. It doesn't have to be 1,000% every time it goes through. And the more you do this, the more those feelings will decrease in severity. And at some point, my discovery about myself became an urge to make it an offering to others. Because even though I can't take away someone's trauma and pain, I can perhaps help you realize that there's ways to deal with it that are helpful and are freeing, and that will return your sovereignty to you. So no, I can't heal your trauma for you, but I may be able to help you find the mechanism by which you can start healing yourself. And that's what this work is all about. The way back to yourself when the past reactivates, the ability to regulate your nervous system faster and cleaner, the loosening of the attachments that pull you back or pull you forward or keep you stuck in your present life. You are not weak because something still hurts. You are not broken because your mind keeps returning to an old door and walking through it. You are not failing because your body and your nervous system remembers old trauma. But you do need a way back to yourself, a way back to the present. You need orientation. You need a process, something that helps you return to yourself instead of disappearing into that pain every time it knocks. And that's where Lessons from the Floor comes in. That's where the floor letter comes in. And then by extension, that's where sovereign neutral, that baseline state, comes in. If you train yourself and practice that enough, you will become a much happier person, a much calmer person, I guarantee you. You don't need someone to become your savior. You just need a way back to yourself. Again and again, honestly, cleanly, without shame, without performance. All of this work is very private and very personal. It's not something that most people want to broadcast to the world, that I'm fucked up and I don't know what to do about it. But we're all like that to a certain extent or another. And I really don't care. I'm using my pain and my suffering and my reality to help other people. I've come to the point in my life, finally, where none of this really has that charge. It doesn't have that pull that it once did. I can talk to you about all my failures, about all the things that I have done and went through. And I'm not saying my life is horrible or super dramatic or I've had the worst life on the planet. That is far from the truth. I know full well that more people have had way worse lives than I have. They've been through so much more things than I've had. They've endured and came out on the other side better than I have. But this is for those people who are still stuck. So the type of trauma it is irrelevant. It is the fact that you need to work through this, not necessarily on your own. That's why I'm kind of offering these tips and tools for you, that maybe I can help you through it and help you understand yourself a little bit better in the process. But that's the real work. And I just want to leave you with this. Freedom may not begin with someone healing you. It may begin the moment you realize you can stop living inside of what hurt you and start living from the part of you that survived it. So I'm M. Everett K. This has been a guidance post. Thank you for being with me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.